Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for standing by. Welcome to the TNS Customer Webcast. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. Should you require operator assistance at any time during today's call, please press *0 on your telephone keypad. I must advise you that this call is being recorded today, on the 25th of March 2014. If you have any questions, please type them into the Q&A box and you will receive a response either during the call or afterwards via email. I'd now like to hand the conference over to your speaker today, Stephen Schmechmer, Global Head of Customer Experience Management and Employee Engagement at TNS. Please go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for taking the time today to join us. We would like to talk to you about some new and very exciting insights we've been working on in the customer experience space. We actually would like to take the opportunity to share some of our new learning and perspective with you. Here with me today is Susanne O'Gorman. Susanne leads our Worldwide Center of Excellence for Customer Experience Management. She's a Senior Global Director at TNS. My name is Stefan Schmelcher. I head up TNS Global Practice for Customer Experience Management and Employee Engagement. It is my pleasure today to walk you through the first part of our webcast. Susanne is then going to take over for the second part. We all acknowledge the world has radically changed over the past few years. The internet and digital technology have transformed how we communicate with each other, how we work, how we shop, and how we share all types of experiences with friends, family, and at work. The power of the new ways of communications is tremendous. We call this the shift. Companies need to be prepared for the shift in communications behavior. It's amazing how technology has transformed most organizations' business and even entire marketplaces. Just recently, we talked with a few CMOs of large organizations. Let's have a quick look at what Jonathan Becher, the CMO of SAP, the global IT company, describes as customers are bypassing existing business models in favor of their unique experience. He points out how social media creates a new transparency about organizations and makes customers take more control of the relationships to companies. Due to easy and immediate access to a huge amount of available information, customers know lots of details about our companies and offers, and which transforms them into instant experts. They are provided with a great deal of choices when buying products and services. Many companies are actually suffering from this empowerment of customers, with having less control over their relationships, less share of voice in the market, and actually less loyalty in their relationships, and ultimately less profit, as retaining existing customers and attracting new ones in this competitive environment becomes more costly and less rewarding. Delivering memorable customer experiences and managing relationships is more important than ever. However, every customer is different, and customer experiences are multidimensional and multifaceted. Unraveling the complexity of customer experiences is actually challenging. How can we understand what truly matters to our customers and what doesn't? We have to identify the true dynamics of customer relationships, and we have to learn how to lead our customers like through a complex maze. Most companies claim focus on their customers, but there are so many moving parts: product reviews on the internet and social media, delivering of fast services, trust, product quality. What actually makes customers remember our organization? With all the influences customers are dealing with, consciously or unconsciously, the question becomes more and more, what is a memorable experience? As customers make decisions based on how they remember experiences with an organization, sustainable memories become the actual driving factors of relationships. When assessing customer relationships, understanding the memorable customer experiences is crucially important. This now leads us on to our new thinking. We think that at the heart of every customer relationship, there lies a unique code. The code identifies and matches up what customers expect from you with what makes them behave more favorable regarding your organization. We call it the customer code. It's our new and pioneering approach to unlocking customer relationships. If you crack your customer code, it provides detailed guidance on what makes your customers remember you, and therefore where you need to focus your resources and where you don't. It's about understanding where you need to be truly great in terms of your product or services and customer care or on the internet, and equally which areas don't matter so much to your customers. When we started to look into this in more depth, there was one thing we noticed early on. Some companies are just more successful than others in creating memorable customer experiences. What do these companies do differently? Do you know what makes your customers stay or go? Let's have a look at one of those successful companies. IKEA, the Swedish home furnishings company. Their numbers speak for themselves. A popular brand with strong business growth. Just in 2013, they had more than 770 million IKEA store visits, huge numbers when it comes to sales turnover, and they're growing with now more than 300 stores in 42 countries. I guess we all know them and have some kind of experience with them. IKEA understand that they don't have to be great at absolutely everything, and they definitely understand their customers. Customers love them, even though the experience with them is not always that great. Just imagine going to IKEA on a Saturday morning. IKEA is out of town. You have to travel to them, possibly through heavy traffic. It quite often is really inconvenient to get there. Finally, you find a parking spot and you enter the store. Right from the beginning, you're caught in a labyrinth. You can actually get lost in. Have you ever experienced this? I have. I went for a specific shelf the other day, but they forced me to go through the entire IKEA maze, whether you want to or not, along with all the other people. What a busy Saturday morning. Okay, I finally found my shelf, exactly what I was looking for. And I got a good price too, so that's fine. And I actually found a few more things that I put in my shopping trolley. But now you have to push this heavy shopping trolley. The long queues at the checkout are waiting for you. And until I get all the stuff in the trunk of my car, I actually feel exhausted. So far, not just a great experience. But now they make me feel good again. Here is my reward. A simple hot dog. Certainly not the best food, but just the right thing at the right point in time. And you know what? I do like it. And at this point, I know that I will go back and I do it again. Have you ever heard about IKEA's hot dog? Despite all these challenges, including the manual, which I never really know how to read, at the end, I'm happy because I know exactly what I get at IKEA, and I can rely on it. And IKEA deliver on it time and time again. There's something about them which is more than the design of their furniture or the price. They know how to treat me to create memorable experiences with them. They have actually cracked the customer code. A very nice example, but we wanted to make sure that we fully understand what makes successful companies different and how we can learn from them. So we have done lots of research. Besides the experience from millions of conversations we have with customers every year here at TNS, we have invested in a large piece of R&D over the last 12 months. In several studies, we have spoken to over 40,000 customers across 20 countries. We asked them about their experiences and preferences, and we analyzed what makes them more likely to stay or to go with their current providers of products and services. We tested a series of different questions and techniques to find out how to best build our new approach. In addition, we have done qualitative interviews with a wide range of CMOs of large global companies. So our thinking is based on a solid mix of qualitative and quantitative research, and we have gained a wealth of data and insight. Here's what we found foremost. Successful companies like IKEA, they all have one thing in common. They know exactly about the difference between performing well with their customers and winning them over to stay with them. We call this the gap. Those companies are actually able to close the gap between the company performance and the customer behavior. Among many detailed results about customer experiences, our research provided actually two significant findings. The first one doesn't seem to be very fancy or novel, but data from all markets and all industries show that your company's performance is and remains the foundation of every customer relationship. You have to perform well in order to build relationships. Performance is a necessity, and if you do not perform well enough, your business can get in deep trouble over time. The second finding, however, changed our thinking completely. Only companies that manage to translate their performance into customer preference, only those are able to build strong and lasting relationships with their customers. The decisive criterion is the preference of your customers in making choices or a judgment about your organization. It's not uncommon for companies to go out of business despite the fact that they perform very well, but simply because they could not establish a strong enough preference in a highly competitive environment. Consequently, we measure the strengths of the relationship based on two critical metrics that complement one another. Company performance based on memorable customer experiences and customer preference in making a judgment about the organization. Based on these two questions, we built the TRIM Index. The TRIM Index measures the strength of your customer relationships and is an effective KPI that can be used for all types of benchmarking and analysis, across markets, between customer segments, and over time. The first and fundamental step of decoding your customer relationships is the analysis of the TRIM Index and its two key metrics, performance and preference. Here's some data from our research. The example here might not be as meaningful as it is because it is across all markets and all industries and all companies we measured, so across all 40,000 interviews. But it nicely shows how we can put our learning together in an easy to understand and easy to communicate way. An average performance score of 80, which is an excellent score, and an average preference score of 58 that shows the room for improvement. The index is simply the mean of both metrics, and our data shows a performance to preference gap of 22. And this gap is what we need to look at. In some markets, this gap can be much higher. We see gaps of as big as 40 points, and for individual companies, it can be even higher and bigger. The successful ones, however, deliver much lower gaps, and the best companies have the lowest gaps in their market. So mind the gap. Here's how it works in practice. This is a Western European service provider market. We selected 3 of the main players in this market. The market leader, another well-established company that got in trouble recently, and one of the newer challenges in the competitive set. Here's the results of the market leader. Strong performance rating. A score of above 80 indicates a great offer and excellent customer service. Coupled with a relatively high customer preference of above 60, which leads to the lowest gap score of 21 in this market. So we have strong relationships, reasonably low churn, and therefore a profitable business. The second big player in the market has been facing performance issues recently, which immediately led to a decline in performance ratings, and later on in a decline in preference. With high churn rates, this company is hugely under pressure, indicated by a significantly greater gap score of 32. A very different situation can be found with the new challenger. This is a smaller company with a smaller customer base, but an obviously convincing offer leads to great performance ratings and strong preference. Despite the outstanding performance ratings here, two questions arise for this company now. Can they secure their strong relationships and actually deliver against the high expectations when they continue to grow? And secondly, the effort that is needed for them to get to the same customer preference as the market leader is unusually high, a gap score of 35. So can they be profitable over time becomes the key question for them. This example shows that based on only two metrics, we can understand the market situation. The performance to preference gap helps you to move from backward-facing experience measurement to forward-looking assessment of your customer relationships. It helps you to understand the implications for your business.
When we talk about decoding customer relationships, there is a second dimension we need to take into account, and that is context. One of the major insights of behavioral economics has been the understanding that everything we do in life, how we behave, the experiences we have, takes place within a certain context. And this context is framing our perceptions and attitudes. You probably all know pictures like this. It's a simple visual illusion, but a powerful one. In reality, both blue dots are the same size. But our brain looks at the context as much as the dot itself. Due to the different context, it seems that the blue circle on the right is bigger than the one on the left, even though they are exactly the same. And the amazing thing is, even when we know that we are subject to a graphical illusion, we still cannot help seeing it that way. What makes the gap between performance and preference that my colleague Stefan just talked about is the competitive context we are operating in. Same as the little blue dots, customer relationships do not exist in isolation, but are shaped by availability of other alternatives. Let's look at a case study example. A retail bank operating in one of the BRIC markets. At first sight, everything is looking really good for this company. 40% of their customers are very happy with their bank. They are in a strong relationship. And for another 46%, we can describe the relationship as moderate. But the bank operates in a fiercely competitive market. Many customers are already working with other banks, and additionally, more than 70% consider using even more other banks in the future. And when we take into account also how strongly they are attracted by those competitors, as well as the current share of wallet they have with the bank, we can project that a quarter of the business is at risk to go to a competitor. So we might want to revisit the slide we have seen a minute ago and ask ourselves whether everything is really looking so good as it did at first sight. If we take into account how strongly customers are attracted by competitors, the picture looks quite different. There are customers who have a high risk of shifting share of spend to a competitor because they find an alternative offering very attractive. So even a strong relationship is no guarantee anymore if customers think that other banks are equally good. Or we find that an individual customer has a low risk of churn despite the fact that he or she is in a weak relationship, simply because they see no real alternative. So any relationship research has to include a competitive perspective to determine the actual risk for the business. But same as our little people here differ in the way they are attracted by competitors, they also differ in many other aspects. And if we really want to understand what impacts customer behavior, we need to recognize that customers are individuals and not averages. People differ in their life situations, their digital behavior, the way they are influenced by friends and family, the types of products they use, their values and attitudes, and much more. And in some cases, we call this the individual context, can actually have a huge impact on customer behavior. Another example from retail banking, customers very rarely switch their bank, since there's a lot of effort associated with this. You have to communicate changes in bank details and so on. Nevertheless, a change in life situation can trigger a change in customer behavior. What we have seen in our research is that moving house almost doubles your probability to shift share of spend to another bank. Here's another example which looks at customer life cycle. What we see is that every relationship starts with a honeymoon phase, regardless of whether this is a personal or a business relationship. But after a while, the novelty wears off, and while overall performance is still evaluated positively, preference continuously declines. Now, this suggests that after being with a company for a while, customers tend to get itchy feet. They might be open for other alternatives or maybe already actively looking around. And insights like this can help companies to target specific customer segments at the right time in their customer life cycle. So we literally need to connect the dots and bring different pieces of information together to deepen our understanding of customer behavior. And there are many sources of data: CRM data, social media, operational data, just to name a few. This is a perspective that came across very strongly in the qualitative interviews we did with CMOs. One quote from the CMO of Tata Communications, which stresses strongly the need to combine different sources of data in a way that they can be actioned by frontline teams. And that view on actionability must be key for everything we do in customer research, not only when it comes to combining data sources in a targeted way, but also regarding questions around where a company actually needs to focus investment. And we all know that this is a big challenge. There's a multitude of processes, touch points, services which a company needs to manage. We also know that one of the biggest mistakes a company can make is when they try to aim for excellence in everything they do. This is something companies simply cannot afford anymore. Given the fierce competitive environment and economic challenges in many markets, securing customer relationships is much more costly these days. So companies need to make a conscious decision about where to focus resources, and this decision needs to be based on the question, where is the greatest impact on customers? And when we talk about impact, we need to understand that impact can go two ways. Impact can actually mean gain or loss. So you can improve relationship strength when you invest in certain areas, but a reduced performance might also have negative consequences. At TNS, we have developed a radically new approach to driver analysis, which takes both those positive and negative implications into account. Taking the current level of relationship strength as a starting point, we distinguish between two dimensions. First of all, how big is the threat if performance was reduced? And on the other hand side, if companies decide to invest in certain areas to achieve an improvement, where would they gain? Again, a case study example. European mobile operator. Quality of the network of this company is pretty good. An improvement would not add much in terms of relationship strength. But at the same time, this company has a lot to lose. So network coverage is clearly an area where the strategy needs to be to maintain the current performance level. The opposite is true for cloud services, which is located in the build area. Here we see the potential to increase relationship strength if performance is improved, but reduced performance is unlikely to have a strong negative effect. And of course, for every company, there are aspects which should follow a clear investment strategy. A lot to gain, and at the same time, a lot to lose. As you can see, this analysis, which we call trim impact analysis, is based on the concept of the optimal customer experience. Understanding that it is virtually impossible for a company to be best in all those moments of truth, but aiming for excellence where it matters. And this understanding of best is not always right is actually the first principle underpinning our new approach. We have talked about the importance of context and taking into account the threat which competitors pose. Customers are unique is our third principle, and of course, the fact that data integration is key to provide richer insights.
Before we close our session today, it is important to mention that for any approach to customer relationship assessment, we need to find ways to link the results to financial outcome. Only then we can provide insights about the return on the company's investments in customer initiatives, hopefully a positive ROI. And given our principle, as Susanne just explained, of best is not always right, our customer code approach can help you to determine the optimal return on your relationship investment. Let's consider an example again, and that's the last one for today. This is from a large retail chain. In this case, we were fortunate enough and got access to consolidated financial data, which we could link to our survey results. The horizontal axis here shows the strength of the relationship in a given customer segment. This is our trim index from the survey. The vertical axis shows average annual sales, financial data from the company. The objective of the analysis was to show the relation between relationship strength from the survey and sales volume. Here is the results. A strong correlation between relationship strength and sales. It is not surprising this relation is nonlinear. We can clearly see various thresholds at which relationship investments do not pay off as much anymore. The most promising impact can be seen in the middle of the chart, where an increase of 10 points in relationship leads to a 10% increase in sales. So if the company manages to improve in particular the weak to medium relationships, there's a pretty good return. However, the situation changes for customers that are strongly retained and already spent more with the company. Further investments in the relationship will not be leading to the same return. An increase of 10 points here only leads to a minor 1.5% increase in sales. Best is not always right. There is a sweet spot for this company, the optimal balance between relationship strength and financials. So the advice here for this company would be, do not overspend and focus your investments to get the optimal return. Let me sum up today's sessions with one slide. Successful companies know how to crack the customer code. They analyze the strengths of their relationships based on two metrics, the company performance and the customer preference. They analyze the gap and identify how performance translates into customer preference. In particular, they know that context matters. And they do not look at their customer relationships in isolation. The competitive context in which customers make decisions is crucial in assessing the risk for the business. And treating customers as individuals and being aware of the relevance of changes in their life situation can make a real difference to their business. Successful companies like IKEA therefore understand how to create memorable experiences. They invest in the right areas and make an impact not only through their products and services, but by focusing on the relevant moments of truth when getting in touch with their customers. And so they achieve an optimal return on their relationship investments and drive favorable behaviors of their customers. This thinking is born out of our passion to find better ways in making your investments valuable for the business. With our new customer code approach, you can be targeted, focused, and smart with your customer relationship investments. We help you to make winning decisions for your organization. We really do appreciate the time you spent with us today and hope there has been something in it for each of you and your businesses. Please do let us know if you have any questions or if we can be of any help. Thank you very much. You all have a great day and talk to you soon again. Goodbye.